I've started.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody present. My name is Chine. I am the Chief Dietitian at Thrive. And here with me, I have Mr. Emmanuel Ibamiji, who is the dietetics research coordinator at Thrive. And then I have Lily Chiamaka. She's our invited dietitian. I'm so glad to have you guys here. Please introduce yourselves. Yes, Emmanuel, you can go first.
Okay, I am Oyebamiji Emmanuel Anuluakmo, a dietetics research coordinator here at Strive. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Lily, you can go now.
Hello everyone, I'm Lily Chamaka. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and it's amazing to be here with Thrive. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here today. So, today our topic is hypertension in your 30s and what your plate has to do with it. So, we're going to be speaking differently we're going to have different contributions to this topic, but I'll start with an introduction. Now, if you're in your 30s, sometimes your 20s too, and you find that you tend to have continuous headaches. Sometimes you even get like really sick and you go to the hospital, they check your blood pressure, they tell you your blood pressure is high, or sometimes it happens consistently. Now, when that happens consistently, you then get diagnosed with hypertension. That is what has brought us here today. Now, I would have our invited guests tell us what hypertension is. So, Mr. Emmanuel, please, what is hypertension to you as a dietitian?
As a dietitian, hypertension has to do with when the blood pressure is uncontrolled due to certain intake or caused by its balanced electrolytes. And when this electrolyte is not balanced, like sodium, chlorine, creatinine in the body system, it causes the rate at which the blood flow or the heart pumps the blood to increases. So this is hypertension to a layman language, in a layman language. Thank you.
Thank you for that definition, Mr. Emmanuel. Um, for people who don't understand what electrolytes are or how they can identify when these electrolytes are imbalanced, how can they check this?
Yeah, to check whether the electrolyte is balanced or imbalanced, a medical test is actually needed, in which a blood stain is taken from the person or from the patient, and this is taken to the lab. And when this is taken to the lab, they check the electrolytes in the body system. And apart from that, another thing that is being checked, apart from before getting to blood, is to check the blood pressure. There is what we call what is being used to check blood pressure. I have a mobile one here in which I can just call it a fleet, in which it can be used. They will put it in the hand of the patient and they plug it to the machine and it reads the blood pressure of the body where we have the systolic and we have the diastolic. So when the systolic is higher than expected and also the diastolic is higher than expected, then we say this person is having high blood pressure. And it can actually also be a pre high blood pressure. They call it hypertension, pre-hypertension. And that's occur when the when the blood pressure is at the borderline. So that tells the person that blood pressure needs to be measured, to be monitored for the person not to come down with hypertension. So hypertension simply means high blood pressure. When the blood pressure is high, That's where the name comes hypertension, when the tension in the blood is high.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I have one more question, but I'll come back to you. Lily, please tell us about hypertension as a dietitian.
Okay, so for me, from my point of view, I like to work with the things that concern me as a dietitian. And one of those primary things is blood. Why, you would ask? Blood is what carries all the food that I prescribe to my patients and clients, right?
Yes.
And if blood is not able to get around the body as effectively as possible, then there's a problem because it means all the food that my patients and clients are eating aren't going to get to do the work that they should do. Now, what is hypertension? Hypertension is simply a condition where blood is taking extra strain to get around the body. In simple terms, it just means that the body is finding it difficult to pump the blood around the body. That's just basically
Yeah. Thank you so much. So people know that there are ranges for blood pressure. There's a normal range, there's the elevated range, there's hypertension, and then there's hypertensive crisis. There's also the low range too for people who have hypotension, but that's not what we're talking about today. But the normal range, what would that be?
okay. So the normal range would be less than or equal to less than 120 over 80 millimeter per mercury.
Yeah.
Okay, so if your blood pressure is reading from 100 to less than 120 over 80, you are fine, you are in the clear. However, it's elevated if it's equal to or greater than 120 over 80 millimeter per mercury. That's the elevated stage, or what is called the prehypertension, as mentioned earlier by Mr. Emmanuel, right? Then actual hypertension is when it's equal to or above 130 over 80 millimeter per mercury, right? And then we get to the hypertensive crisis when it's equal to or above 140 over 80 millimeter per mercury. So if you're taking your readings and you're seeing any of these values I've mentioned here right now, I'm certain you know what category you fall into. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Um, Now, why would you say are young people, developing hypertension? Because growing up, these hypertension for a start was something that used to happen to people who were older. But all of a sudden, people who are less than 30, people who are in their 30s are getting hypertension now. This can go to either Mr. Emmanuel or Lily.
Okay. Let me continue from where Lily stopped. Miss Lily stopped the other time. In which
Okay.
she talks about hypertension and hypertension emergency. Also note that there are some certain sets of people that their blood pressure is all expected to be low, not because they are actually doing something that's different, but because it is genetic hypotension. Just that their hypertension might not be, their blood pressure might not be normal. Number one, it can be due to what they expose themselves to. It can be due to what they are consuming. It can also be due to environment. So there are some certain set of people that their blood pressure is actually not normal. It's always fall between 110 to 120. When Lee was talking the other time, she said normal high blood pressure is between the less than 120 and when the systolic is less than 120 and the diastolic is less than 80. But we have some certain sets of people that you can even have 100 over 75, 100 over 70. And not that such people need, imagine, you can check it for the past 10 years, 5 years, that is what they've been having. That is their own genetical makeup. And I think that is the why what we consume, the place of what we consume comes in. Our activity level comes in. What we expose ourselves to also comes in there. So now going back to the question that was asked, why does those under the age of 30 now having hypertension? Now the reason is not far-fetched. When we stop eating the food that is made from our origin, then we have certain disease condition that is far from our origin. Let me repeat that again. When we stop eating the food from our origin, we start having the disease that is not from our origin. That means number one, what do we consume? What do we expose ourselves to? Do we actually rest? So when all these three factors are actually answered, then we will answer why people below 30 are having high blood pressure. Genetically, it can be, but it runs their body system. Secondly, because of what they consume. Secondly, because of what they consume. And thirdly, their activity level. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, Mr. Manuel has said a lot about this, pinpointing that most of the predisposing factors to hypertension are actually diet related and lifestyle related. And that is very true, especially his key pointer where he said if we do things varying from our origin, we're going to see results that vary from our origin, of course. So growing up, yeah, we know that these things used to be geriatric diseases, especially hypertension. During my undergraduate days, I did a research that had to do with nutrition transition through the years. And then part of the findings of that research work shows that with the rise of westernization, especially here in our parts in Africa, we have also seen that Western diseases have also come to meet us here where we are, right? And there's a formula that I like to think of when I'm thinking of certain illnesses. It is the New Start series, right? It has to do with nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, and then trust in God, right? So nutrition, of course, we see the increase in the use of seasoning cubes. Some people feel like if they don't put up to 4 seasoning cubes in one pot, that might just be 2 to 4 servings. They feel like the food is not going to be good enough. It's not going to be palatable. You will not get all the flavors that you want to, right? We see people taking a lot of fizzy drinks, alcohol, one for the road, right? We see people taking a lot of processed foods. We see so many things, comfort food, binge eating. Several of these things are related. And the good part about nutrition is it is a factor that you can control, right? The others, sunlight and all, you might not be able to control the fact that you are living in a building that is sandwiched between several blocks of flats and there's no ventilation, right? These environmental factors are there and sometimes they are beyond our control, but nutrition is something that we can control. Eating more homemade food is something that gives us a great amount of control. But it's not just eating homemade food. It's also about having the right knowledge on how you can better maximize homemade food. I'm going to stop with this. I'm going to say most of us, we spend 4 years studying in universities, but then we don't take time to research, okay, what are healthier meals that I can prepare for this food, for this body that has been carrying me all this while, rather than bouillon cubes. Why don't you swap it with natural ingredients? We have obey, we have ogiri, we have iru, we have dawa dawa. There's no ethnic group that does not have these things locally, one way or the other. So yeah.
Thank you for your contributions. To piggyback on what you just said, Lily, what we need to point out to people is the common denominator in processed foods and these bouillon cubes that you mentioned is sodium. Because while salt is a method of preservation and that is used in processed foods, the amount of it that is put into processed foods is not taken into people's health are not taken into consideration because what matters is that that food is preserved. The shelf life of that food is extended. So also when people get food and the food is not as tasty as they want it to be, then they reach for the salt shaker or they sprinkle salt on their food. All of these things, they are tiny contributors, but they add up. And the build up time for these things too, because initially it was that older people, like people had this habit accumulated, but it only accumulated in their old ages. But now it's accumulating faster for so many other reasons. But a lot of these things are contributors. There's how you handle stress, there's how you sleep, because there's a given number of hours that we're supposed to sleep. But then there's research that is contradicting that right now. So I can't speak confidently on that right now. But there's also physical activity. So it's not just the sodium or eating processed foods. It's not just the sodium or eating processed foods. It's also how are you managing the stress that you're going through? How are you sleeping? Are you exercising? But we'll speak more on that. Now, let's talk about what your plate has to do with it. We've already ventured into that. But 5 things now I would say are contributors to what your plate has to do with it. The sodium overload that we just mentioned. So you guys can speak on that. Mr. Emmanuel, what would you say about the role sodium overload has to play in hypertension without going into too much physiology?
Yeah, when it actually comes to sodium overload and hypertension, which we all know sodium is a major problem that causes hypertension. When the sodium level in the bloodstream is actually higher, so there's tendency or there's 95%, I don't want to say 99%, there's 95% opportunity or chances that high blood pressure will occur. When this occurs, it causes different problem in the body system. And how does this sodium get into the body system? There's a saying in Yoruba that says ona lolenu. That means the way to heaven is through the path through your esophagus. So whatsoever enters through your esophagus can actually land you in hell or in heaven. So how does this sodium get into our body system? They enter into the body system through what we consume, through uh, our foods, our fried foods, our perishable foods, our what I've forgotten the name that we call the frizzy foods. All these are frizzy food. All these are ready to eat food. All these are instant foods. And when you consume them, you realize that they have a lot of sodium. I was currently checking a brand of a drinks. I don't want to show the name. I was checking the brand of a drinks, and in this bottle, which is 35 cl, I can see that we have 0.5 gram of sodium there. In 35 cl, was actually out of 35 cl, you are taking 0.5 gram of sodium. So we can see that look at what we consume. Our preservative is full of sodium because sodium is used in preservative. Like Lillian said, what we use to mix our condiments, our sodium monosodium glutamate is actually high and full of sodium. So for us to reduce our sodium intake is to check.
Sorry, I think your network may have cut you off.
Oh, I said the best way to control what we take into our body stream through sodium is to control whatsoever we are consuming. I don't know if you can
Yes,
still hear me.
yes, I can hear you, and you're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
I totally agree with that. So our second point is potassium deficiency. Lily, you want to take us on this?
Okay, so the aspect where we talk about potassium deficiency is an aspect where protective eating comes, right? Before I delve into that, if we did a statistics on the demographics that use child death and global the most, we'll see that it is people under 30, 30-ish, right? Because Westernization, or I don't even know what where the peer pressure is coming from, but there's just this mindset that society is selling to us that if you don't order food, you are poor. That amongst young adults, that's a perception that is pretty much trending because everybody wants to feel among FOMO, fear of missing out. Everybody wants to feel among, so they're steadily ordering food. And like Chineye said, most of these FMCGs, they are not really concerned about your health. Even regardless how much they say organic, green, fresh, they are not so concerned about your health. What they want is to make sales. So it is sales before your health. Always remember that anytime that you want to order food or you want to get fizzy drinks or you're thinking of getting alcohol, always know that these people are concerned about sales before your health. Okay, imagine people that sell cigarettes, people that produce cigarettes. They've put it out there clearly that smokers are liable to do what, die young. But have they stopped? Have they stopped making it? No, because sales is their primary focus, not your health. And that's why we're talking about protective eating. It does not just stop at, okay, I'm trying to control the sodium, I'm trying to do that. God, in his infinite wisdom, has created our bodies with sophisticated mechanisms such that the body is actually able to do that regulation that you're cracking your head on how to do, right?
Yeah.
So once you're able to control the sodium that gets into your plate, you can further help your body to balance that out by providing it with potassium-rich foods that can help stabilize things. And when we are saying potassium-rich foods, it's sounding a lot, right? But it's just your bananas, they're everywhere, not so. Your oranges, your citrus fruits, tangerine, right? They are everywhere. And the painful part, I'm certain if these fruits could actually yell, they would yell at us all because rather than grab a oranges that the woman at your junction is selling, you rather grab Coke or Fanta and say, all I have vitamin C, Abi. But it's not the same thing. It's synthetic versus natural. And like I said, the body is able to do what you are struggling to crack your head on how to do. Just provide it with the right conditions. Yeah.
Thank you. To
Yeah,
contribute.
I think I also want to add a little into that. Another thing that can
Okay.
actually cause hypokalemia is now a lot of people that has this mindset of I want to maintain my body structure, my body shape, and they go with some drugs. We call such drugs diuretic drugs, and when they take such medication, it actually causes them to lose fluid in the body system. And when fluid is lost in the body system or they have excess sweat, potassium is actually lost in the through such system. And that's why you see some people, they will tell you, no, I'm eating rightly, I'm doing this, but engaging in much exercise or taking some drugs that actually cause diuretic in the body system can also cause hypokalemia, which we normally call low potassium in the body system.
Thank you so much for that contribution, Mr. Emmanuel. Something I wanted to add to what Lily said is about the oranges. So I noticed that a lot of people like to buy fruit juice, and they think that what fruit juice accomplishes is the same thing as what the fruit does. And that is wrong, because the best way to get the best out of a fruit really is either through a smoothie where every part of the fruit is blended and you're not missing out on any part of it, or you're eating the fruit as a whole. Because if you're just taking fruit juice where you're only squeezing the fructose out of it, you're only getting sugar out of it. The you're not getting the fiber, which has loads of benefits for your health. You're not getting the other fiber is what is I'm really going to lay emphasis here on, because fiber plays a huge role in our health. Now, the next thing we're going to be talking about is why we have low fiber, how low fiber contributes to hypertension in the health of young people and older people too. Now, is found in what Mr. Emmanuel called foods of our origin. Once those foods are processed, be it rice or father rice has a good amount of fiber. And once that rice is polished, it has lost its fiber. It has lost a great amount of its fiber. What you're getting from that rice now is starch. You find fiber in fruits, you find fiber in vegetables, you find fiber in beans, oatmeal. There's basically food that comes out of the ground. I'm not sure how else to explain it. Now, once that food is processed, that fiber is what is removed from it. That is how the food can be preserved better. That is how the food now takes away from our health. But I would like to hear more about that from you, Mr. Emmanuel, please.
Okay, thank you. Talking about low fiber and hypertension, low fiber diet actually cause a lot to hypertension. Apart from someone that is more that how will I put it? Someone that is managing hypertension and is already how will I call it? And is having diarrhea. So let's put it that way. But someone
Yes.
that is managing hypertension and is consuming the low fiber diets, number one, there are three major key that connects the two together. Number one, we have reduced metabolism. When you consume fiber-rich diets through the gut microbiota fermentation, it produces a short chain fatty acid, which helps to relax the blood veins. But when a low into fewer short chain fatty acid and this highly contributes to higher blood pressure. Number two is insulin insensitivity. High fiber diet improve insulin sensibility, and that's why you see a lot of high blood pressure patients later in life they have diabetes, and that's why I do call diabetes and hypertension twin. When one is in and you never manage it well, it brings in the second one. So someone that consume a low fiber diet is insulin will be insensitive, so which exposes the person to diabetes. Number three is weight control. High fiber diet food promotes satiety, helps in manage body weight and reduce blood pressure. While low fiber processed diets. So let's use the word processed diets often leads to weight gain and hypertension. It leads to weight gain and hypertension. So the best way in which this can actually be controlled is by eating our food from natural source. Don't cement your own house. Don't interlock your house. You can plant your fruit and vegetables in a bucket and you have your meal. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Lily, do you want to contribute something to this?
Okay, let me just use this analogy. So I think most times people are not well informed because they cannot see the big picture, right?
Yeah.
So when we say blood is finding it difficult to be pumped around the body, when we say blood vessels are struggling, literally like they're in Lagos gridlock, they are struggling that much. Most people don't understand what that means. What it means is, let's say this is our blood vessel, yeah? What I'm showing with my hands. And you're consuming a lot of fatty food, a lot of processed foods, a lot of all of that. What it does is it's going to give your body bad cholesterol. Let me not go into all the names and say LDL and all that. It's going to give your body bad cholesterol, meaning that there's good cholesterol, right? Now, when it gives your body bad cholesterol, what happens with that bad cholesterol is that I'm going to use the cement that Mr. Emmanuel mentioned. It's going to cement the walls of your arteries, meaning that you have build up here, 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 here. It's going to keep building up and it's going to keep narrowing the blood vessel. That is when the strain and the struggle happens. Okay, guys, so it's like having a water pipe that is clogged. It means you will not have water in your kitchen, you might not get water in your bathroom, right? For all these things that we are saying, fiber, for instance, what fiber does is it gives you the good cholesterol, right? Most fiber-rich foods is going to give you that, and it's sort of going to serve as a scraper. Most of us might be able to relate to the scraper that bricklayers work with, and it's going to scrape off most of that bad cholesterol, freeing up more space for blood to flow. I hope this makes sense, but that's one key function of high fiber foods in your body. It's going to give your blood more room to flow. Aside from that, its work in the gut is that it's going to help reduce inflammation around your body. Because most times what causes several disease conditions is inflammation in the body. Now let's use oats for an example. I have this young child who does not like taking oats. She prefers custard to oats, right? But she has a constipation problem. And that means she's not passing out waste as often as she should. Now imagine carrying waste in your body for 2-3 days and it's fermenting. And you know what that is going to lead to, right? But then once she takes oats, in less than an hour, she wants to use the toilet. But then imagine that she has parents that only give her custard that does not have any fiber at all. to provide for her body. So these are practical scenarios that actually help you understand better what you gain by providing your body with what it needs to function best.
Thank you for that. To add to that, how people can, to make it more practical, how people can add fiber to how they already eat. For example, if you're having oats, like you mentioned, for breakfast, that's a source of fiber. You can add apples to that. That's more fiber. If you get hungry between breakfast and lunch and you want to have a snack, you can grab carrot, you can grab some cucumber, any fruits or vegetable that are available. Potassium that was mentioned earlier, avocado is a source of potassium, bananas are a source of potassium. So while you're eating protectively to protect your body against the effects of sodium, you're also eating fiber. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes, you are audible. We can.
Okay. So while you're eating protectively, you're also eating sources of fiber and potassium. Also, for lunch, say you're eating swallow, eba, you can eat that with vegetable soup. Vegetables, like I mentioned earlier, are also a source of fiber. Just try to put fruits and vegetables in your meals throughout the day. And as you do that consistently, you build up your system. So, because fixing your gut through eating fiber can boost your immune system. Okay. So the next thing, let's talk about excess refined carbohydrates. This can also be related to fiber. But Mr. Emmanuel, are you still here?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, so tell us about how excess refined carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates can contribute to this health condition. Also, I need to point out that the thing about hypertension is called the silent killer because you cannot immediately tell that your blood pressure is high. It can present as signs that inflammation also presents as you can just constantly have headaches and you may think it's because you've not eaten or you've not drank water, then you check your blood pressure or you have to go to the hospital to check your blood pressure and you find out that your blood pressure is high. So with this, I'm encouraging everyone here and everyone who's going to watch this to constantly check their blood pressure and to always do the annual full body checkups. Mr. Emmanuel, please
Yeah,
go
thank
on.
you. We talk about low fiber, and we are right now we are talking about processed food or refined carbohydrates. When we talk about refined carbohydrate, the major issue there is when the definition is given refined, that means it has been altered. The configuration has been altered. The structure has been broken down. And when the structure is broken down, it makes the nutrients that is there to either increase or reduce. But now, when it talks about reduced for carbohydrate content or refined carbohydrates of meal, what that food actually produces, it makes the food palatable, it makes the food sweet. But what about the nutrients broken that has already been broken down? Example, we just finished discussing about the low fiber. So, for example, let's use the difference between okay, and Lillian use oats, and now I'm taking oats as swallow or taking oats as pap is different from flour. So when I'm using oat flour, it increases the glucose, the glycemic load or the fiber, it reduces the fiber load of that food. And this fiber load will just pass without doing the work. We call fiber broom. And what is the work of broom in the house? We use broom or mop to wipe away dirty things in each corner. And this is actually what fiber does. So when you are feeling on a refined carbohydrate product, you've actual potential and the strength of that. It's actually not good. But there are sometimes we have, so that cheat period can be just once in a month, but not an every. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think my network is acting up. Um, Lily, tell us the role of excessively processed carbohydrates in the development of hypertension and insulin resistance.
All right. So, something about excessively processed carbohydrates is when it gets into the system, the body system, the bloodstream, it just pours out all the sugar straight up, leading to sugar spikes in the blood. However, when we say eat a lot of fiber, eat a lot of fiber, it seems like we're overflogging it an already dead horse. But there's a reason why. Why? Something else fiber does is that it helps the body release sugar more slowly, meaning that it doesn't confuse your locks. Now, I like to use that because insulin is the key to open your cells, right? But when the insulin is confused, that what's going on? That's a lot of sugar to deal with, right? Over time, that confusion leads the insulin to not even want to work at all because it's not getting clear signals as to how to work. And that's when we say that someone has possibly developed type 2 diabetes and due to resistant insulin, right? So you see that over-processed carbohydrates, of course, they're going to give you that instant energy. They're going to give you fuel to work. Right now, right then, you're going to have that energy overdrive and all of that. But rather than just think of the right here and now, presently, think more long term. And that's why when we said that most of these diseases used to be geriatric diseases, I think, Naya, I think it was you that mentioned that it used to be geriatric diseases because these things have occurred over time, right? But when you now are doing these things that we've pointed out that are adverse to your health, you are dragging the timeline closer to yourself.
Yeah.
So that's basically it about overly refined carb.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our time is far spent, so I think we'll just speed it up from here. Another thing that contributes to blood pressure, and it contributes directly, is alcohol. As you're taking alcohol, there's no two ways about it. Your blood pressure is spiking. There's no, I do it just occasionally. I do it in moderation. Alcohol contributes to hypertension. Now let's speak about DASH diet. DASH diet was generated. A DASH diet is okay. So DASH diet, a second. DASH diet was developed for hypertension. These are dietary, forgot the acronym, but dietary something associated
The
with
dietary approach to stop hypertension.
to stopping hypertension. Yes. Um, so Lily, please tell us briefly about DASH diet.
Okay, so the DASH diet was basically developed as a practical step to stopping hypertension with food. That's basically what the DASH diet is about. And it's basically most of what we've already spoken about. Increased vegetables and fruits, increased whole grains and legumes, lean protein. It's not robot chicken, no, everybody. Lean protein, please. It's not your high fat sausages because everybody's treating sausage these days like it's an essential commodity, right? Then increased nuts and seeds, reduce sodium, and the use of low-fat dairy. That's basically what DASH diet is. DASH diet does not mean foreign food, though. DASH diet does not mean foreign food. And then when we still talk about the DASH diet, we can still go on to look at elimination of alcohol, like Nate mentioned earlier. You know, before there used to be an allowance that you could take 2 glasses as your allowance for alcohol. But now the World Health Organization has reviewed that and has said, please don't take alcohol at all. There's no acceptable range for alcohol consumption. You know, I used to have a friend that used to take one for the road, but then quite recently I saw on his status and he was saying, guys, please don't take alcohol, because I'm certain that perhaps he would have seen how injurious it has been to his health over time. And then from all of these things that we've said, one major enemy of the DASH diet is stress eating. That is one major enemy of DASH diet, stress eating, binge eating, because it it does not allow you to think or eat with self-control. I'm going to stop there and allow Mr. Emmanuel to say more on all the stress eating and cortisol thing.
Yeah, thank you. When I saw it, I was like, wow, cortisol, alcohol consumption, and stress eating, and hypertension. They are actual, like I said, they are twins. And when you are managing, you are taking when you are having alcohol consumption, cortisol elevation will surely occur, and you will be forcing yourself to eat. And with that, we call it creates a self-reinforcing cycle that severely impacts cardio and metabolic health. And what is cardio and metabolic health? This also is a big definition of hypertension. So chronic hypertension, chronic alcohol consumption and stress actually trigger hypothalamus pituitary adrenaline axis in the body, which is called HPA. And when this occur, leading to high cortisol level, which in turn drives craving for high fat or sugar foods, so that the food that they will just want to eat is food that will console them. And when food addiction comes in, they start elevating or elevation in blood pressure. And this alcohol is a double stress. There is double-edged sword that causes diabetes. And when cortisol level increase, level is what actually to crave for something higher or something sugar or something fatty. And when this actually comes into the body system, there is tendency or there is probability, not even probability now, 50%. So there is tendency of developing high blood. This cortisol and craving, like I said earlier, it increases appetite for high caloric food, sugary food, leading to stress eating because I'm tired of what I want to eat, but my anxiety, satisfaction is actually not equal. So with that, I have to go for a food that is high in sugar fat, and this leads to stress eating. Thank you.
Thank you
And
so
also, let
much
me
for your
also add to
explanation.
you that there is actually a type of hypertension that is called a type of hypertension that is called alcohol-induced hypertension. Alcohol-induced hypertension, and this actually occur to chronic those that drink thoroughly above 30 grams a day. It can also lead to alcohol-induced hypertension. They might not have hypertension in their gene. They might not have their family related having hypertension. Continue intake of alcohol, it induce hypertension. Thank you.
So, as Mr. Emmanuel has rightly stated, there's a direct link now between alcohol consumption and developing hypertension, even if it is not in your family history. So outside of family history, because hypertension is genetic, like a lot of other chronic diseases, outside of lifestyle, outside of diet, a risk factor that everyone knows about for hypertension is BMI. We have different ranges for BMI. We have the normal range, which is 18.5 to 24.5, and then from 20 24.5 upwards, where you're overweight or obese, that puts you in a position that already places you at the risk for hypertension. And hypertension, I don't know if I said this earlier, but hypertension opens up the doors to these other chronic diseases. You would rarely see someone who has diabetes and they don't have high blood pressure. You rarely see someone who has a heart condition and they don't have hypertension. There's also abdominal fat, which people don't talk about, the fat in your stomach. So there's certain measurements. I think for women it's 35 inches, and for men it's a little more. But once you measure your belly fat, waist circumference, and it's as a woman, it's more than 35, or for a man, I think it's 40. Once it exceeds this, it places you at the risk for all these health conditions. Please tell us, Lily, a practical dash diet in the Nigerian diet.
Okay, so a practical dash diet would include, say, beans or beans and rice. Something most people don't know is that beans and rice is actually a better way to eat either of both foods because they complement each other to give you more. So you can have beans or beans and rice. You can have grilled fish as opposed to fried fish. Okay. And then you can have steamed vegetables. It could be ugu, your pumpkin, it could be spinach, steamed vegetables, basically. So that's a practical dash diet. Simple to make, easy to make, and still sumptuous. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to round up now. What you can start doing immediately to prevent, or as a preventive method. For one, you can check your blood pressure twice a week. Two, you can reduce the amount of bouillon cubes and salt that goes into your food. You don't have to taste at the back of your head for you to know that your food is sweet. You don't have to wait until your ancestors whisper to you before you stop pouring into your soup. Add vegetables to your food. Fruits and vegetables together, 4 to 5 servings are recommended in a day. And like I mentioned earlier, you can have a fruit as a snack. You can add vegetables to your food. You can just eat, and a variety is the spice of life. Eat as many different fruits and vegetables as possible. The method of cooking is important. You don't need too much fat. You don't need too much oil in your food as you're cooking. You can steam your vegetables and drink as much water as possible and eat as less processed foods as possible. So thank you everyone for your contributions. I'm going to ask our audience if they have any questions. Thank you everyone for coming today. Does anyone have any questions for our dietitians? You can ask your questions now before you have to go and pay a dietitian to ask a question. Thank you so much, Mr. Uzo. Okay. So I think no one else has any questions. Thank you so much, Lily Chiamaka, for your contribution. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel Oyebamiji. I hope you all have a really nice day. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
thank
Bye,
you. Bye.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.